Hello and welcome to this instalment of Talkin Trim. I'm Jonathon Skinner and today we're looking at the front seat covers and associated hardware items for the Triumph TR6 models. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, the TR6 had 5 different versions of seat covers during its production run originally from the factory. This particular video is concerning the era 1970 to 1972, specifically for cars that started with the chassis number CP with the number above 50,000. So essentially CP 50,000 plus models, and they were mostly fitted to non-North American export cars. So typically speaking, we refer to them as the European style seats, but effectively they were pretty much all the countries apart from North America. Easiest way to define them is obviously by the chassis number, but then by the fact that they are reclining without any headrests. Let me just sort of reference a couple of the seats in the book. Now it's worth noting, obviously I've done other videos, so please do see the links at the end of this video for related videos detailing seat covers and trimmed up seat versions, but of course do check out our other videos on YouTube as well, which go into lots of details on these things. But basically we're referring to these seats here in the car. The most commonly seen TR6 style seats were these ones with these stalk headrests. This is the era before that. These particular seats here, I've actually got an original one here, but effectively they are reclining, so they go back and forward, tilting and reclining, and then they don't have a headrest element there. Like I say, weren't fitted to the US or North American market cars. They had, for this sort of matching era, shall we say, they had the fixed headrest style seats, but these are the European spec ones, as we refer to them. And what we've got here is we've got a set of seat covers done to leather face specifications. Now it's worth noting we can offer a 3-tier option when it comes to seat covers. You've got one end of the scale, everything in vinyl, which is, as it says on the tin, everything is done in vinyl. Other end of the scale is full leather, which again kind of describes exactly that. Everything is done in leather. And then you have the middle ground option, which is what these are, which is what we refer to as leather faced. And kind of, it's in the name again, basically the facings of the seat are leather, but the surrounds and backs are vinyl. Now, it's worth noting that a lot of other companies out there, when they offer what we refer to as leather face, they call it leather. That should not be confused with our full leather option. I believe we're one of the only companies in the industry that offer a full leather option. But when other companies are describing supplying leather seats, that is normally the comparison to our leather-faced seats, so just bear that in mind. Sometimes on heritage certificates as well, they did state leather, and that often meant leather-faced as well. So just bear that in mind. If you're trying to compare apples with apples in terms of prices and whatnot, you should be looking at leather-faced versus what everyone else calls leather, and don't confuse it with our full leather option, which is a real upgrade package. Speaking of, most of the TR6s left the factory with vinyl, or ambler as they refer to it, which obviously we can offer. Some would have left with the either leather-faced or full leather options as an optional upgrade from the factory or special order from the factory, but the majority of them left with sort of vinyl ambler seats from the factory. So these have been done, like I say, leather-faced specifications. They've been done in what we refer to as biscuit-like tan, and the leather we've used on this one is our grained leather. We can offer smooth or grained, dependent on the colour. Most colours are available in smooth and grained, but some colours are not. But this has been done in the grained leather element of things. Now, just to quickly run over leather-faced, so you know exactly what you're getting in what particular material for it. For the cushion base, the bit your bum goes on, everything that touches your body as you're sitting in the seat is leather. So basically the pleated panel there, the front panel there, and the side panels here are leather. For the backrest, it's the top panel here, the pleated panel here, and then these side bolster bits, which are a very unique design, which I'll get to on this. They kind of form a wing section there. To look at it on a vinyl seat, and like I say, this is an original seat that we've got here. Effectively, if you were considering leather faced, then that would be leather, that would be leather, that would be leather, same again, that, and that would be leather. Okay, and now obviously for full vinyl versions, everything's vinyl, or for full leather versions, everything is leather. So yeah, bear that in mind. Now, another thing to keep in mind is originally from the factory, they did mostly vinyl ambler. And as standard from the factory, if you went with the vinyl material, the pleated panels, which are these bits here, would have had an embossed pattern on them, as per this. We can offer that, and we do standardly offer it. If you order a set of vinyl seats, that's what you'll get, unless you instruct us otherwise. And you can see here, that is the pattern on it. Now, it's worth noting, and I have referenced this in other videos, originally from the factory, it was actually the pattern and actually a very small pinprick right in the middle of it. We don't do the pinprick. We emboss a little pinprick sort of dot in the middle of it, but it doesn't actually perforate the material. You can't really do that these days. The HFRF welding machine that does that pattern there shorts out if you try and do the pinprick. So just bear that in mind. It's an attention to detail, but yeah, keep that in mind. It's not actually going all the way through, but it's what we've used for 50 years, so people are fine with that element of things. So that was only for vinyl seats. That pattern can only be replicated on vinyl. You can't physically do it on leather. But yeah, we offer that as standard for all our vinyl ambler seats. However, if you wanted, we can emboss the leather with a similar pattern. It's not by no means the same at all. It's not trying to be. But some people like to have this pattern on the pleats. It gives a subtle nod to the originality element of things, and we have supplied numerous TR5, TR250 and TR6 seats that originally all had the vinyl pattern on them with this pattern embossed onto it as the for the pleats. So there is a surcharge upgrade option for that, but it's worth noting from the factory, if any cars left with leather face spec or full leather spec, the pleats would have been like this. They would have been completely plain. They wouldn't have had a pattern on it. This here is something that my father started offering. In fact, he's got it on his TR5 to replicate, or rather to mimic, the original embossing pattern that appeared on the later TRs. But by no means is it meant to be original. It certainly isn't. So that's always an option, but it is a complete sort of upgrade thing. So contact us for more details on the pricing on that side of things. But if you went for leather faced or leather as standard, this is what you get here, which is effectively plain pleats. So let's go over the details of the actual seat covers themselves. So obviously biscuit light tan, leather faced. Seat cushion bases, you obviously get a pair of them. They are not handed, the bases, nor the actual backrest. It's only the back panel where it becomes a handed seat. Cushion bases, obviously fully sewn. You get genuine tuck and roll pleats on a scrum back thick foam. The side panels and the front panels are also foamed, which gives a nicer finish during the trimming process. And then you also get pre-sewn scrims around the circumference. Let's switch this one, which is already upside down. So you get a pre-sewn scrum, which effectively goes around the circumference there, which you use during the trimming process. You then also get the side ones there and the front one there, which all becomes evident when you come to the trimming of the seat foam elements there. So that's effectively the seat cover there. Obviously it's got the piping on it. Piping for TR6s as standard was the same colour as the main trim. So bear that in mind. Some of the earlier TRs had white piping as standard, but for TR6s they switched to the matching piping. All of our piping, where colours allow, which is easily 80 or 90% of the colours we supply, is standardly supplied in leather cloth, which is the original spec material used during this era of production, not just by Triumph, but other manufacturers out there. Leather cloth, also known as vinide or rexin, is by far and away the most suitable material to be used for piping. A lot of other companies out there use vinyl because they don't want to have the expense of stocking an extra material, i.e. leather cloth. We get all of our piping specially made using leather cloth, and do see our blog and handbook posts regarding leather cloth piping and the suitability over vinyl for it. It's one of those things that we kind of pride ourselves on, using the correct materials, but also the most suitable materials for the process. Vinyl, when it's wrapped over such a short, such a thin piece of plastic piping, because it's thicker, it becomes a bit more bulbous and a lot more obvious. Doesn't look particularly nice in my opinion, but also because it's got a sort of different coating on it, vinyl snags over such a tight turnaround, whereas leather cloth doesn't. If you run your finger down leather cloth, it doesn't snag like vinyl, and so it's a lot more suitable for purpose. Like I say, about 80 to 90% of our colours we can offer in leather cloth for piping. Some colours, unfortunately, are only available in vinyl, and therefore we have to use vinyl, but we like to be as transparent as possible on the suitability of those sorts of things. And generally speaking, when it comes to piping, all of the original colours are available in leather cloth. It's only when you go completely off-piste on colour schemes that can sometimes throw a spanner in the works. Back to the topic, all the piping done in leather cloth. I should actually note, sorry, I've been a bit misleading there. Piping on some of the TR ones was actually plastic, which I'll show you on that original seat over there. But generally speaking, or rather, absolutely, we'd recommend you use leather cloth. It was certainly used during some of the era of the Triumph production. They actually switched to plastic for some of the colours, just for complete clarity on that one. But yeah, so the cushion cover piped, obviously has a retainer there as well. And as I've mentioned, all of the top part here is leather, the retainer's vinyl, and the surround here is vinyl as well. Going on to the backrests, they are very strange design, and I'll show you on the original seat, because the side bolsters are effectively like a wing, so you have like a separate panel down here, but we'll touch on that in a second. So again, genuine tuck and roll pleats, not just fake sewn across pleats. They go in and out of the actual foam, so genuine tuck and roll pleats. All of this section here is leather, vinyl retainer there, then the inside of the side bolster is leather, very bottom part here is vinyl, and then the surround that becomes the outside of the side bolster is also vinyl there. Again, you get scrim sewn in, which becomes evident during the trimming process with those two elements of backrest foam there. This sort of wing section here, like I said, it's a very odd design. You could effectively put your hand down in between the pleated panel and the side bolster on the original seats, which I'll demonstrate in a second. But the sort of winged side bolster pieces also have this sewn kind of mechanism area for down the side panel bits there, which we do supply as standard, the pre-cut hardboard pieces, including spacers, which you may or may not require depending on how your seat has been put together. Such was the era of manufacture. Some cars had these extra spacers in because they needed them, other cars didn't. So we supply, in fact we oversupply, we give you more than you probably need, just in case you need that extra bit of spacing going between them. But they effectively come out of there, they get tucked in here, then that's where the bolts and whatnot for the mechanism go through, which I'll demonstrate in a second. Then you get the backrest panel, so the backrest board. So detachable backrest panels, they're hard boards. They have the pre-drilled fixing holes going round. You had two types of fixings, which again I'll show you when we get to the example seat over there. You effectively had six I believe, 3 on each side for that. And then you had 2 at the top, which were a different fixing. These are available. Those ones at the top I do not believe are available. So you have to hope that your old ones are reusable, but there is a way around that, and I have detailed that on other videos, so be sure to check that out. But you get a pair of those pre-trimmed, and they have the excess retainer flap on the bottom, which again kind of gets looped around and trimmed underneath. They are a pair, i.e. a left and a right. It's basically at that point that they're seats become handed in terms of what we supply. The cushion covers and the backrest covers are not handed. It's only the panel that is handed. The seats themselves, the actual frames, are handed. They go on a sharper incline, should we say, round the corner on the outside of the car to allow the hood frame to pass by. But in terms of the actual seat covers, it's only the panels there that become handed. So that's basically how we supply the seat cover kit. So that's sold as a kit, enough to do a pair of seats, with obviously the options for vinyl versus leather face versus full leather. Vinyl, as standard, has the embossed pattern on the pleats. Leather faced or full leather will be plain pleats, unless you want to do the upgrade non-original spec package on that, so bear that in mind. Moving on to the kind of seat hardware, I've just got one seat's worth of hardware out, just because space restrictions on the CNC, but these are all sold in pairs or car sets, so enough to do a car set, i.e. 2 seats. So the seat foam kit consists of these 2, or rather 3 pieces actually, for the cushion bases. So you have the main padding there, then This part sits on top, and this part goes around the sort of perimeter of it there. So that's kind of 3 pieces per cushion base. Again, the scrims, that's where they come into play with the black scrims that I had mentioned earlier. One gets sort of pulled down there, the other one there and there, then the other one around the circumference. Again, I'm not going to go into details of how to trim the seat. We will be doing instructions and videos at some point, hopefully by the time maybe this video goes up, we might have things on that. But yeah, do touch base. We're more than happy to help you or your professional trimmer on how to trim these things, or better still, just send us your seat frames, we'll do the work for you. So that's the cushion base foams. Obviously you get 2 versions of all these or 2 sets of these per order. Then the backrest padding consists of kind of the side bolster pieces here, then 2 bits for the center, again the scrim in the pleated panel that I mentioned, that black piece just there, that is what's used to get pulled through the gap in the foams there onto the webbings in the back of the seat there. And then you get this sort of tubing that goes around the perimeter, effectively round like that. So that's the backrest elements of the seat. Again, it's all sold as one, the seat foam kits. So everything that you're seeing here at the moment as I describe it, you get 2 seats worth. We sell them in car sets, so basically 1 seat foam padding kit equals enough to do 1 car. In addition to that, you want the seat diaphragms, which are sold separately to the seat foam kit, but they are sold in pairs. And these are the rubber diaphragms that sit literally underneath the cushion base there. They're rubber, they come with the fixings for the side, but not pre-inserted. That's done during the trimming process there. So you get a pair of those. And then we also do the webbing kit. We use Pirelli webbing, so it's really, really robust stuff. And it comes as a roll. It's around sort of 6 meters or so, which is ample for 2 seats. And then you also get all of the fixings for attaching it all together there. That is how we supply the kit at the moment. We're getting a lot of requests for people to us to actually supply them pre-cut and sewn, etc., for you to be able to literally put them into the frames. This is what we did years ago, and then people were struggling, shall we say, with the trimming process, so we stopped doing that and just gave them ultimate flexibility. But now that we're doing more and more trimming in-house, we have got a much better feel, shall we say, of the different variants of the TR6 seats, and therefore it's going to make it a bit easier for us to standardise that kit. So watch this space, we will look to update that, but in the meantime, this has served us well for at least 20 years or so doing it this way, so that's the way that we've done it on there. But like I say, watch this space, we will be potentially doing some more. Now let's look at this original seat here, which is obviously black vinyl, just to go over a few things that I've kind of referenced. I've obviously mentioned about the embossed pattern on there. As you can see, this is what I mean by odd setup for the back there. Look, this literally comes away like that, so you have a nice bit of dust coming down. So the side bolsters are a wing effect there, and you have the webbings in the middle there, obviously extremely brittle. The foam's absolutely nothing, which is just powder at the moment. But that's effectively how the seat was originally trimmed here. You can see that's the scrim that comes through the centre of the foams there. So yeah, very odd design. Can be confusing if you're not aware of the originality element of it, but actually I'll leave that open because it gives a good view on bits and bobs. So yeah, like I say, you have all of these webbings here. The bits are kind of pre-slit, they're cut down the side to allow the webbings to pass through there. That's your back panel down there. Underneath, you'll see you got the rubber diaphragm, which is that part there. And then also it's worth noting clips, seat clips. There are 2 different versions of seat clips depending on exactly where you're trimming. You had these, can't actually see them. Oh no, they're all been, there's one. All been taken off, but you can still see indentation. So you have what we refer to as the small U-shaped clips, which is what the majority of the seat users in that area. But then you also had tubular clips, which went around some of these tubular bits here. We can supply both. They're all sold separately, literally individually, so you can let us know. So that's a tubular clip, and then that's the small U-shaped clip there. So we do supply those completely individually if you need them, but you'll often find you can reuse your old ones. So just bear that in mind. Then looking at the back panel, So it's semi-off. You can see the two versions of clips here. So this is the one that's no longer available, although we are looking to get some made. So again, watch this space. But if you're missing that, or you need two of them, don't worry, there is a way around that. You just have to drill into the seat frame to allow for a different clip. And then these are the ones that were on the sides here. Now actually, these ones get superseded with these ones, which are exactly the same for the trim panels, etc. So they're readily available as well. So we can supply those. That's obviously the trim backboard there. This is the element down here for the woodwork pieces on the side mechanism. They can be quite tricky to trim those. That's probably the hardest part of the seat actually, is to trim that element there. Obviously they had the recliner and sort of runner mechanisms on the side there. They normally had sort of chrome handles and whatnot, which are missing on these seats here. And then the only other thing to mention, which we are looking to supply as well, they had these coiled springs which sat just there. You get one on each seat, and they're often missing or damaged, and we are in the process of getting these sorted. So again, watch this space, but they should be readily available shortly. So yeah, I think that's the whole shebang. Like I say, 1970 to 1972, sort of typically the non-North American seats. They recline, they don't have headrests, CP above 50,000. That's what these seat covers, hardware, and a trimmed example, or rather original example, is for in this video. All effectively sold separately, but in car sets. So you have the seat covers sold as a set there. Then you have the seat foam sold as a set, seat diaphragm sold as a set, seat webbing sold as a set, and then all the fixings there will be sold individually. A few options on the materials, even more options on colours. So check out our website for details on that. Trimming wise, watch this space for tutorials and videos. But of course, in the interim period, if you or your professional trimmer are struggling, then do let us know. We're more than happy to send you photos, voice notes and videos to help guide you. We've been doing these same seats for almost 50 years now. We've done hundreds upon hundreds, if not thousands of them. We know they work. It's why we've got the reputation in our industry for producing quality and workmanship to the highest levels, and why we are winning concourse events, best in show events. Doesn't really matter if you're not interested in concourse. You should still want your seats and trims to be the best they can be, and that's why you should always come to us for those sorts of things. Going back to what I mentioned about comparing apples with leather versus leather faced in the industry and that confusion, basically pricing should be one of the lowest down metrics that you should be looking for. Quality, fitment, experience, that's what you should be looking for, and that's what we're renowned for. All you have to do is check the international club forums and blogs. You'll see our name scattered all over it, and this is why I've set up the YouTube channel, to really showcase our products. No other company out there doing it, so I think that speaks volumes. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Please remember to check out the videos at the end of this one, because there will be links to other related videos for your TR6 restoration. Of course, if you have a restoration you want to talk to us about, then do log on to our website, either via our contact form or email or build a quote system. There will be downloadable PDF price lists as well for the old school members that like that style of things. So be sure to check those out. Please remember to like, subscribe and share with other classic car enthusiasts out there. And of course, stay tuned for any future videos. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.